And the approval of minutes for September 14th meeting. Did anyone have anything they wanted to discuss about that, add or anything? So a motion to approve those minutes. Okay, and I also read in our bylaws, Amy said we actually don't need a second to motion, so we can motion and then just vote majority, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so all in favor to approve the minutes? Great, lovely. Did we have anyone for Angelica? Is there anyone there for public comment?
I'm just now getting us.
Okay, so sorry. Give her a minute.
I don't have anyone online for public.
No. Okay, so no public comment. East Asheville Library introduction and up.
Yes, so that would be the branch manager typically, but Alexa is unable to join us, so I will just say hello and greetings from East Asheville Library. I think you've all been here at this point because we have so many meetings here, which is probably one interesting thing about this branch is that it has the highest demand for our community room use of any of our libraries in the county. A contributing factor to that would be the fact that this space can be split in two, so they can do double the number of bookings. It's also our only library that has small group study rooms that are available. So it's a great model for what we would hope to see in our facilities in the future as we eventually because it will happen, get new libraries in Buncombe County. The space use, small group study room and community room space are at the top of the list for any new library facility. So beyond that, they've got a very active slate of programs. They've got electric vehicle parking spots. So if you haven't had a chance to explore, park your electric vehicle here if you've got one and drop in anytime. But greetings from the East Asheville Library staff.
Thank you. And then also your director's report.
Okay. I've got kind of 4 different categories of updates to share things about. I'll start with brief facilities update. That is to let you know that 2 of the 3 facilities that are not, one of the 3 facilities that's not owned by Buncombe County is our Oakley Library. And that if you've been to Oakley, you know that it is a well-loved and well-used facility. It's also in need of some work. Some would say the entire facility needs to be replaced. So the city of Asheville, since they own that property, they're in the process of a study to look at the future of the Oakley campus. It's not at the point yet where Buncombe County or Buncombe County Public Libraries has been asked to weigh in. They've just kind of let us know we've kicked this off, but we have been invited to the table for some future conversations about it. One of the things they've identified as part of that plan is that, yes, this whole campus needs to be reworked, and ideally within that would be a new Oakley Library. There's no funding commitment or anything beyond that, just an acknowledgement right now. So I will keep you abreast of those discussions. Again, it's early days for that, but we're hopeful that at least there's recognition that the facility needs work, needs replacing, honestly.
Are they on board with keeping it there? Does it, like, the early discussion seems like they are willing to keep a library there? Just sort of like way back to like COVID times when it was maybe not anything that we were thinking about keeping.
Like the initial written plan that they've come up with, like here's our ideal of what this would look like with a redeveloped campus, still includes a library there.
Awesome.
And we've seen really strong numbers there for our children's programs recently. So we know that there are a lot of folks who love and use the Oakley Library.
There's a very, very strong community desire and very vocal desire. When we did the meetings and had a couple of meetings for Oakley, we had lots of people participate, and they will come out in droves to support the library.
I was one of them. And I will take a moment there, Grace is doing an amazing job with what she has there right now. It's, if you haven't been to Ugly, it's 2 teeny tiny rooms. It is the space of this room, at best. And it's a hard space for a librarian to find creative ways to do things. But they've been doing this one thing now since, I want to say October, that my boys are, and all of our little friends are obsessed with, so I'll just take a moment to shout them out. But they've been hiding creatures, and so it started, I think, with scarecrows, and then it was bookworms, and then it was snowmen. No, maybe it's snowmen right now. But printed pictures around the library, and the kids just have to find them all. And because it's a small space, it's a way to get them comfortable with what they have there. And also I think in some cases to get some of the heavy older users of library used to having the kids sort of be everywhere because it's a small space. But they get little squishy toys when they find all of them. There's also imposters. So when it was scarecrows, there was the pigeon was one of the imposters, and he was like, I'm not allowed to hide in the library, was like Will saying, or like the owl that said, I'm not who you're looking for. But I mean, it is, and they move every week, and the boys know that, like, the girls moved, we have to go, like, they're in it. So just a very passive program type thing that the kids are loving.
That's great.
Yeah.
Another facility, this one is owned by Buncombe County, but there's an interesting update. So our West Asheville Library on Haywood Road is another facility that could use more space, and that is in an extremely popular, heavily trafficked part of town. Asheville City Schools and Buncombe County are jointly pursuing a feasibility study for the redevelopment of the Asheville primary school site. It's about a mile further down Haywood Road by the interstate. The county and Asheville City Schools have both identified a couple of different priorities. There is some overlap there. One of the things that the county and the school system would both like to have is a preschool. The county's looking at some other considerations like the need for an EMS base in that area. The school system is considering that they need office space and a home base for food service, as well as a place for maintenance, general services. One of the county's priorities to consider there would be a replacement for the West Asheville Library. It's very, very early days there as well, but I did go to a meeting a few weeks ago with the architect who's in charge of the feasibility study. I met the superintendent of Asheville City Schools. There were representatives there from general services. And so we talked through the things that we would love to see at a new library. We went over and visited the West Asheville Library so they could see what the current reality is. And then we took a trip over here so that the architect could get a feel for what our newest library facility in Buncombe County looked like. I've subsequently received a survey to fill out. They've asked for dream big in your perfect new library. What kinds of things would you see? What are your operational concerns? What type of programmatic concerns and needs do you have? The last I heard, the timeline for completion of the feasibility study is sometime in November. So it'll still be a long way out, but there's potential there. And so I'm trying my best to clearly articulate all the things that we would love to see and that our community deserves in a new library facility. So keep you posted on that, but that's a facility update of note. On the planning / library administration side of things, we are still in the thick of our budget planning process with Buncombe County. Recently, I submitted the staffing request. You've heard in previous meetings about our multi-year staffing plan, which is intended to reduce the library's dependence on temporary staffing. The next phase of that is intended to eliminate the library substitutes. And we have submitted our staffing request for additional full-time regular staff members that would help us get to that point. I have initial preliminary budget review meetings with the assistant county manager for my department starting next week. So there is still quite a ways to go with that as well. There are two areas of the library's discretionary budget that I will be seeking increases in. One is for programming and one is for, technically the line item is travel and training, but it would be to support staff development. We have a lot of opportunities in conferences. We'd like to be able to send people to more conferences, to more trainings. We also want to be able to continue doing our annual all staff day and not necessarily have to seek additional funding from the Friends or the Trust Board for that. As a follow-up, an operations update. Again, I feel like I'm saying everything is early days. This is also early days, but for your awareness, we are in the early stages of having conversations about what our staffing model looks like at each location and what the feasibility is of returning some of our locations to Monday hours in the new fiscal year. So lots of considerations there. It's not something that we will be able to do at all 12 locations, but we are talking through what it would look like, what kind of geographic coverage would we need to have somewhat balanced and equitable access to services. PAC library hopefully would be one of those, as well as some of the larger outlying locations. So my goal is to have that information figured out and begin communicating as close to the start, if not earlier than the start of the new fiscal year, so that we can let folks know when and where will be available. There has been a lot of requests, both from county staff and patrons and other interested parties inquiring about Monday hours and when they might come back. I'm committed to doing it in a way that considers the impact on our staff and the staffing level that we're at right now. So I want to do it in a smart way, but I do think it is essential that we be able to provide library services every weekday. It hurts me deeply that we don't have libraries open on Mondays, and we know that folks are in school and working on projects. And if you add a holiday closure into the mix, you could be looking at a 3-day stretch without access to libraries. So that's something that is definitely on our radar and that we are working toward. Lots of creative thinkers and creative solutions come out of our department, so I have no doubt that we will find a way forward with some version of Monday hours in the new fiscal year.
That's great.
We're gonna get there.
I'm sure you're already, but with consideration to the librarians' time as well, though, like how you staff it, you know, making sure weekends are protected, what their weekends look like for them, whether it's Sunday, Monday, or Saturday, Sunday, or whatever.
Absolutely. Yeah. You know, for a lot of our staff, almost all of our public service staff, who are on a Tuesday through Saturday work week. I maintain that being off Sunday, Monday is not directly equivalent. It is not a 1-for-1 to having Saturday, Sunday off. You know, it's not the exact same weekend. There are staff members for whom that works great. But there's definitely consideration and thought about like work-life balance, quality of life, having some flexibility with your schedule. We also want to do it in a way that doesn't make it a skeleton crew at the Monday locations and have them just be like totally burnt out by the Monday workload. So my last update for you is about programming. And one of the reasons that I will be requesting an increase to our programming budget is to sustain a program that will be happening for the first time in a couple of months. It is a community-wide reading program called One Book, One Bunkum. You may have heard bits and pieces about it. We're a couple of weeks out from a more formal announcement, but we will be having an author visit in April. We'll be distributing free copies of the book at libraries across Buncombe County, as well as some other key locations. We'll be doing related integrated arts and thematically linked programs, music performances, book clubs, guided discussions. So a whole host of activities designed to get as wide a cross-section as possible of people in Buncombe County engaging with the library, talking about literature. We have a special focus on equity and inclusion and inviting people to the table who may not have felt traditionally represented in library programs, or who may not have felt like they saw themselves reflected in the books and things that have been talked about in other library events. So we really are aiming high this first year, but it's totally within our grasp. I'm confident it's going to be a fantastic program, and I'm building it into my budget ask so that we can sustain it in future years with the goal of expanding, perhaps having multiple authors. The book for this first year is for adult readers. Arguably, older students falls in their reading level too, but it's an adult title. In future years and based on successful models at other public library systems, we'd love to have a selected title for each different age range. So the sky is the limit with this type of program. Look for lots more information coming out in early February. You'll see social media posts and all kinds of other information about our one book program. That is everything on my list.
Great. So next would be old business. Do you have anything to discuss for that? No, okay. So new business then. Would that be our dilemma here with districts and patients?
I believe so,
Okay.
yes.
So Jason and I were talking before this meeting because he let me know that we have one application who is from District 1, which is what we had said before, we needed someone from District 1. In talking about that, because I had a friend who lives on my street and I thought I was District 1. And she applied and he looked and it was District 3. So we've now determined, and talking to Angelica, there's been movement in districts. So like Ruth and I now, we just learned our District 3. And so now we're trying to determine, does that mean that we need a District 1? Does that mean we need a District 3? There's some confusion about that. And are we keeping our districts, whoever has them assigned, they're staying, or do we change them to the new ones? So the rules to me, I don't know, Amy, are not as clear for me.
Do you have a member from each district at the time of appointment?
Yes, we did. We were following that.
Okay.
Yes, it's just now if we, like, do we switch or do we not? Or does it even say?
It of course it doesn't.
Okay.
Any vacancy on a library board of trustees, regardless of how created, shall be filled by appointment of the board of commissioners. That's different. I need to think on it, but I think that what we're gonna have to do is fill the seats currently, because if there's no way to know what's open, if you have to think about at the time you were appointed, you were in District 1, now you're in District 3, so does that mean you're still District 1? Technically, yes.
Okay,
So then we wouldn't need a District 1 person, but that also means District 1 is not represented. If you technically.
for the new ones.
Right.
But we're all representing the original spaces.
Right.
So how do we go about that?
I need to think on that and put it on
Okay.
old business for the next meeting.
Okay.
And
Cause I will just, like, as an example, like, I know one of my friends, she lives 5 houses down from me, applied, she's now District 3, but I'm District 1. So let's just say she was on the board, it would say District 3, but she's the old District 1, we're in the same district, but it looks like we're different.
right,
If we keep our original districts.
But the county commissioners go. The county commissioners for their districts don't necessarily live there now. There's several of them that are in a district they don't live in,
Because
because they just stayed where they were.
they're allowed to finish out the term for which they were.
Right.
Okay,
So the commissioners are misassigned at the moment, there's commissioners.
Oh,
Okay, okay,
Okay, well,
that's been
that's-
very helpful, thank you.
Yeah.
So. What? Do we have a person from each district at the time of appointment? So you were
Yes, we
district
did.
one at the time of
And
appointment?
then we needed a district one.
And we
the time
do
of
need a
appointment.
district, okay. Do we have somebody who was district two at the time of appointment?
Yes,
Okay, so are there any districts that were not represented at the time of appointment?
not to my knowledge. Ruth would probably better answer that, but
At the time that the individual was appointed,
Yes, ma'am.
no. We've always had a full board. And reappointed in the spring each year, 3 people, 1 from each district. Cause our representation is 9, 3 from each district. And we have always done that.
Mhm.
And then we got kind of messed up at one point when the county or whoever changed, we had like 4 people in district and 2 in a different district. But when that 4th person went off board, rotated off, then the new person would be from that new district. So we have tried our best to adhere to what is required.
So are there any districts that are not currently represented?
No,
No,
Mhm.
it's just we don't, there are some for which we don't have 3
right,
people.
Right.
So the-
Fully represented.
They're not,
Okay, I'm sorry, that was the better question. Are there, which districts are not fully represented?
that now it would,
the old one,
Cause your list now is from Stacy, you said is the updated numbers.
yes,
So we would have to look at what we have now. That
I would need to see we need to see the work off
the old one as appointed.
Right.
Okay.
I have that list.
that's,
do.
that's Tammy.
Can't
Is that the same one you just sent me the other day?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, that's it, I've got it up.
That's the people in the districts they were assigned to when they were appointed.
Right,
I've never moved anybody because the district moved or because they moved. We also had that, somebody moved to a different part of the country.
Yes, so in that case, we've got 1, 2, 3 people from District 3 currently. 3. 2 people in District 2.
Yeah.
2 people in District 2. Yeah, I will send that to you right now. Amy.
I think we have 4 people, according. May 23, is that your latest list?
I think so, that's the last time. it's been
I
going,
think
right?
there's 4 people in 3. Leanne. Julie. Keely is gone.
It's gone.
No, no.
Summer, Florida, airport.
What?
Yeah.
What a random run-in.
No,
This
This is not the old one. No, because Ruth says 3. And she's
So this is
one,
kind of a mix,
so that's a mix of them.
because this is your old, or just one.
Correct, and so is Ruth.
So are the rest of us still in our districts, or are we different?
I don't know.
We don't know.
But let's see, because you're 2, aren't you, Justice? 2 and Julie's 3.
Yeah. Yes, 2.
So who's not here? Brandon. Summerlin. Do we have, oh, you know what? This would be their appointed district, right?
Mhm.
Unless
On the name tag?
reprinted, but
I don't think they've been reprinted.
no, I've never reprinted.
So Leanne was 3,
Okay.
Summer was 3.
Summer's 3.
6. Okay, I'm 1. Ruth is 1
Ruth should be 1 on this list.
on that list.
So Ruth is the only one on there that was wrong.
Elena 1.
Yeah.
Justice 2. And Julie is 3.
That's what this,
So
Okay, now,
in that case,
okay,
it would appear that the vacancy would be for District 2.
Two, yeah.
That
okay,
was what I had in my notes from
That's what
way
you
long
had.
ago, and I didn't wanna like shout that out of me.
So one of the things that has been suggested, Stacy mentioned this to me as well in an earlier conversation, is that other boards, commissions have moved away from the district requirement. It would be something for our board to talk about. With the goal being as representative, as geographically representative as possible, but getting rid of the state 3 from each district so that when this happens, it doesn't go on the phone. I don't know the exact process for what that would take to change it, but
that's something we can motion to discuss now, or do we need to table that for next time?
Put that on new business for next time, just because,
it's gonna take an amending.
well, I don't think we have to do it, we may just be able to do it with the bylaws, which would mean this group would be able to do it, but I still think you would need to give the public the opportunity to comment. In theory,
Right,
they wouldn't even know it's on.
and
the
that's,
Yeah, I mean, I was looking, the ordinance last was updated 2018. And bylaws. Not sure. And those were updated last. So, I mean, it might be something, let's see.
And Ruth, you're correct, it is not just in the ordinance, it is in the bylaws, so that the 3 members from each Buncombe County Commissioners District at the time of
it
appointment,
is
so,
an ordinance,
yeah, we would have to make a
We would
request
to-
yes, the
for the ordinance to be changed.
and that requires,
so I
public opportunity, public.
I do have 3 applications that have been received by the clerk for District 2. But I was not told to present those to the board because they weren't for the district that we thought had the opening, so. Would that be at the next meeting? Come prepared to present those, okay,
The applicants themselves don't even know that they were being presented tonight.
right.
All right, so then is there any other new business to discuss?
You have to motion to table this or something.
Do I need a motion for that? No, okay. Okay, well, I feel like that was the shortest meeting we've ever had. Was there anything else anyone wanted to? Do we have a motion to adjourn early? It was
So moved.
7:01. Yep, okay, all in favor? Okay.
We'll discuss Mr. Miller next time too, right?
Well,
Because he
he
did
is
wonderful.
District 1,
Yeah.
which is what we thought we were gonna.
Yeah, but he could get the vacancy for one.
I'm sorry, are we at the